Welcome, students of Lakers Fast Break University. It is now time for Lakers History 101. Thanks so much to participating, stopping by class. Take your seats, please. It is now time for Lakers Fast Break University and Lakers History 101. It's Gerald Glassford, Dean of all university studies, right here for you at the Lakers Fast Break. Also, as well, please, you will be notified by us when you get that reminder, only if you subscribe today. So please subscribe, students. It's a part of the quiz. Go ahead and subscribe. That way you'll be notified upon further classes of Lakers History 101. Also, as well, the post games, the pre games, the interviews, trivia, and more. So go ahead and please subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break episode. Plus, we do a lot of great things on this program and on this channel, but also other channels as well, including Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture. Inside Sports Fantasy Football, that's coming up later this week with another great episode for Thanksgiving. Also, as well, of course, Joe Soro, Professor Joe Soro. He is Ox 1947, Professor Ox 1947 at LakersBall.com, and of course, Simblades with a Y.com. Of course, also as well, you can go ahead and check out our good friends at Lakerholics.com. I guess friends of the faculty per se, with the number one Lakers blogger that's out there, Laker Tom, and of course, Jamie Sweet. Go ahead and follow them today, Lakerholics.com. And then, of course, our good friends, Empire Jeff TV, Lakers in 5, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, and the John McCallion channel. Please support them on their own channels on YouTube as well. But thank you, everyone. Students, please take your seats. Like I said before, class is in session. We are accepting and issuing out tardies and detention if you are late for arrival. So please take your seats. It is time to go ahead and discuss today's topic. And today's topic is none other than the greatest winning streak in American pro sports. And that is none other than the Los Angeles Lakers, starting on November the 5th, 1971, heading all the way into early January 9th, 1972. The Lakers, for 33 straight games, dominated their opponents by an average of 12 points better than what the other team was doing. Absolutely dominated with an average then, which was really good for that time, of 119 points a game. So that being said, is it the most dominant streak ever in pro sports history? We will discuss that today, plus also as well, what made it so special, all the components of it, and then last but not least, will it ever be approached at all by any other sports team? Here today to discuss all the topics therein are two awesome parts of the faculty, Professors Magic Man Sean Grice and Professor Joe Soro. First up is a good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check him out today at Simblades with a Y.com. It is Professor Joe Soro. Joe, great to have you here. Intel Wild, part of our distinguished graduates, postgraduate studies, by the way. Intel Wild, he says 33 in a row, and guess who broke that 33-game win streak? Kareem and the Milwaukee Bucks. Your thoughts, my friend, is this the greatest streak of all time in American pro sports history?
I guess for a single season, yes. I'd say for a single season, yes. I don't believe it's the greatest streak of basketball in terms of dominance. This is a little skewed, but I think I've said it on the show before. The greatest streak, even though it wasn't all wins, in my basketball viewing, was the 2001 end Lakers, 2001 beginning Lakers. It was two separate seasons, but from the end of March through June, the Lakers went 23-1 to finish off the Philadelphia 76ers in the finals to win back-to-back championships. Then the following year, they started out 16-1. That is a 39-2 streak of basketball. That's a half a season of meaningful basketball games. I have never seen a more dominant team than that team, and I don't think we ever will. That team practically won a half a season worth of meaningful games and only lost two. However, since the topic is the 1972 33 game winning streak, interesting tidbit that a lot of people don't know. Well, they do know, but they don't know the intricacy of it. Elgin Baylor played, I believe, 9 games going into that season. The ninth game was back to back to back games. Back then, they actually played 3 games in a row sometimes. Sometimes they played 4 games out of 5, when they had balls. Right now, they don't have balls, to keep it lightly. So as soon as that game ended, he abruptly, and the word is abruptly, retired. Technically, it wasn't abruptly. It was Bill Sharman making a decision that Elgin's legs were shot and he needed a faster up-tempo team. And Elgin Baylor's greatness, his greatness didn't allow him to go to the bench. Therefore, he retired. And then, of course, the rest is history. The Lakers went on to win 33 in a row, losing to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to break the streak. And I believe the original streak was the Milwaukee Bucks. I believe it was at 21. So, and right now the team that's actually second is the Miami Heat, I believe in 2013, if I'm correct.
12-13.
Yeah. They went 27 in a row, and they could have done it. I think they had the capability of doing it. Unfortunately, Dwayne Wade started running into his injury issues right around that time, and we were lucky enough for Laker fans not to see it. But anyways, I wasn't around for this. Obviously, I was born 6 years later, so I can't really go by any legitimate information. Even footage of that season is very scarce. I do have Game 5 of the finals. It's kind of in and out, but not enough to where I could make a legitimate assessment. But looking at what's taken place since 1972, I'm very surprised that winning 33 in a row didn't at least get them to 70 wins. I think that's probably the biggest surprise for me. At the time, it was the all-time winning record, 69. But I think it should have won 70 that year at that point. But they did finish with a title. Wilt was able to be a multiple champion at that point, and to some degree, still kind of a disappointment in terms of winning. Wilt Chamberlain, Gail Goodrich, Jerry West. I mean, Jerry West was always a team player. Gail Goodrich came from good stock in terms of team ball from UCLA. I wish Wilt had done more of that probably before 72. And again, they ended up losing the following year to the same team they beat in 72. So a lot of times it's just one of those things where I hit miss. But they did solidify the streak by winning a championship. That's the most important part. They did beat Milwaukee on the way to doing that as well. And Milwaukee had won the championship the year before. So greatest in-season team streak? I guess by the numbers, I can say yes.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Lakers Fast Break University and Lakers History 101. Here talking the greatest winning streak of all time. We'll go ahead and continue that discussion with a esteemed member of the faculty indeed. He is the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to stop on by the show. It is Professor Magic Man, the gentleman who actually suggested today's subject to instruct the class on today. Magic Man, great to have you here. Always a pleasure to take a deep dive into Lakers history with Joe Soro and you with your vast knowledge. So I ask you, my friend, looking at it, It is statistically the greatest winning streak in American pro sports history. I ask you, do you concur or do you think, like Joe, that maybe something else rises above the cracks?
Well, yeah, Joe brought up the '01 Lakers. The Warriors would bring up their 24 game winning streak to start the season, Gerald, as
That's
to
the one by Luke Walton, or am I mistaken on that?
yes, that would be the one that a lot of Warriors fans would counter, myself and Joe with, and others if who are putting the 72 Lakers there. It is to me. First of all, when it comes to that particular streak, that was done by a first year head coach, Gerald. Bill Sharman's first year with the Lakers. Um, Spo had some time with the Heat, especially with that group. He had a full season with them before they were able to do that. The Warriors had been together for several seasons before that, and as Joe had mentioned, the Bucks before that, that team had been together too. This team was kind of put together a little bit on the fly, Gerald. And as Joe said, we weren't around then, but we go by anecdotal evidence and what everybody said. What Elgin Baylor said was pretty clear. I was he said I was depriving Jim McMullen of playing time. Like it's not just the fact that Wilt wasn't the man anymore, Gerald. It was pretty much known that he at best he was the fourth best player on the Lakers. It was the Lakers backcourt, it was Jim McMullen, and then it was Wilt.
Just the
That's
irony, though, in that, as far as how it went down, it was a different time then. I get it, but it was still just the irony. And Elgin Baylor, one of the greatest players of that era, on his last legs, had he, I don't know, has it ever been a really approach to him in regards to, does he regret bowing out in that season? Does he really have any regrets on that? Or before he passed away, of course, did he ever really go at length and talk about that? Because that's something, if I was to sit him down for 10 minutes, I would actually love to have gotten the opportunity to ask him that question. Do you, in hindsight, regret not just writing it out, maybe on the pine or come as a player off the bench, just basically, just swallowing the pride a little bit, coming off the bench for a team winning 33 in a row, and then ultimately winning a world championship, something he never gained as a player himself.
no, Gerald. And like ironically, it was Wilt who's sacrificed the most for that championship. He sacrificed touches, he sacrificed points, he sacrificed rebounds, and he sacrificed possessions. Not only that, he sacrificed his time as well, Gerald. A lot of people don't realize this. Do you know who invented the idea of the morning shoot around, Gerald?
Bill Sharman, I'm going to guess.
Yes, it was Bill Sharman. He got the idea when he was playing for the Celtics. Gerald Sharman led the league in free throw shooting. I believe it was 7 years. And he said after he started incorporating a morning shoot around to his game, he started shooting over 90%. And a lot of other fellow Celtics and a lot of that coaching staff noticed, including one Red Auerbach. And he brought it with him to certain spots. He brought it with him to the ABL, Gerald. Did you know that Bill Sharman once won a world championship in the ABL for George Steinbrenner?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, for the Cleveland Pipers of the American Basketball League. Uh, he brought the shoot around there. He brought the shoot around eventually to the Jazz of the ABA, Gerald, that eventually came into the NBA. So what I'm trying to get at is he asked Wilt Chamberlain to lunch before the season starts. And the issue with the Lakers locker room, Gerald, isn't so much that it's kind of a divided one. It's just separate. There are separate cliques. Wilt is a single guy. Jim McMillan is a single guy. West is married. Goodrich is married. There are a lot of married guys in the locker room. So Sharman asked Wilt if he'd be willing to come early to the morning shoot around. And Wilt bluntly says, Gerald, man, I really like to sleep in, but if you think it's best for the team, I'll come to the morning shoot around, Bill. Gerald, Wilt had a problem with basically every Laker coach except for Bill Sharman. Never argued with Bill, never had any complaints about Bill. He respected the championship pedigree, but I understand why people think that he should have had a different uh career with the Lakers, but the fact is, whether it was Joe Mulaney or Vatkov, go down the list. There were guys that they just didn't understand Wilt, wanted to do it their way, and it just created a lot of conflict. So Sharman really didn't create conflict with Wilt. He wanted him to buy in. So he knew if Wilt bought into that morning shoot around, everybody else would too, Gerald.
It's amazing to see that concept and just the fact that the sheer respect, Joe, for Bill Sharman in that era, just truly amazing to see why it was such a great part of that 33 game winning streak. I don't think he gets enough credit for coaching that team. But we had this conversation last week, and you got really upset about, as far as the conversation when it turned into super teams in today's modern society, today's modern NBA. But back then, you look at the roster, and it's pictured right there as far as the JPEG when you go ahead and click on it to select this video. It is something that you could probably say is close to a super team as you can get.
Well, there was 17 teams in 1972, so
By sheer consolidation, you could,
how can you not have a super team? But super team is usually meant to be a derogatory comment based off of feelings, based off of irritation, based off of legitimizing why someone else's opportunity isn't there. That's where the vitriol comes from. Is it's easy to just say, oh, it's a bubble championship. Oh, they bought the team. Oh, they bought their championship. It's the easiest thing to say when you're a loser, because you know damn well you wouldn't say the same thing. And I try to keep it within the modern times too, because I wasn't around in 1972. Obviously, I was not old enough in the 80s, but I do know common sense, and I know a lot of people out there don't. You had 17 teams in the NBA in 1972. You had 26 teams in the 80s, predominantly in the 80s, where the meat of that era was, until 1988 when the Magic and the Timberwolves came in. So with that, I wish Wilt Chamberlain had not been, what's the right word I'm looking for? Stubborn. It cost him championships. And you can't be stubborn when you're playing against the Celtics, right? The Celtics of the 60s had 6 Hall of Famers on their team. 6 Hall of Famers during that era. You're talking about a team league of 9. So having 6 in and around that era is quite substantial. Plus, Bill Russell knew how to play team basketball. He didn't let the coach get mad at him. He was focused on winning, which is why he won 2 NCAA championships at the University of San Francisco, and why he ended up winning 11 in. Are you talking to me? Oh,
we
sorry.
just had a late student arrival, so I told him I was giving him the side eye because.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so
we'll deal with that student at a different time.
Well, you look at the track record.
I am watching you.
You look at the track record, and winners win usually when they're in line with the coach. It's very rare that a great player won't be in line with the coach.
And if I find that you're trying to corrupt my daughter, I will take you down, buddy.
I will take you down to Chinatown.
Bueller.
So with that, totally threw off my rhythm.
It's all right.
Yeah, you deserve it after what you did to us.
The thing is, looking at it from a distance, a great distance, is the Lakers were able to harness this one season at that time and make it their own. Kind of like the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1955. They were constantly losing in the World Series, mainly to the Yankees, and they finally broke through in 55. But then they didn't win another one until 1959 and then 63 and 65 when I felt like they probably should have went on a run. But Wilt was able to play team ball and buy in, right? But we would have preferred to have Wilt buy in 68, 69, 70, and 73. You're talking about 4 losses in the finals. That's just not good for a guy that should be that dominant. And Wilt played 47 minutes. 47 minutes in the playoffs on the average. Averaged 21 rebounds a game. So it's kind of funny that you guys say, well, Wilt decided that he's going to let go of the reins a little. Here he's playing literally the entire game and still averaging 21 points.
He
rebounding
really
at 21 points a game.
You're right, Joe, because he kind of played a different style because Goodrich and West could take up the bulk of the scoring. He played possum with a lot of teams, especially on the boards, because he could average anywhere from like 10 to 20 boards a quarter if he really wanted to.
We've talked about this on the show many times. I think of the losses more than I think of the wins. The West Chamberlain era was of great disappointment in the end. And it would have been a tragic disappointment had they not done what they did in 1972. I believe they should have won in 70 for sure and in 69. 73, you would think that they could take that momentum to the next season, but they didn't. But they just lost too many of these series in and around that era. And it's nice that they were able to get one, but it's still, that's why I'm kind of teetering on by default giving them that 33 win streak being one of the best of all time, because it did matter at that season, and it did in the end create a championship. So that's where it gives us its validation.
We have a student question. What was Wilt finals record in LA? And thank you for the good question there, Sunday.
1-4.
Got to a finals every year. He was with the Laker. He only just won one.
He won one in Philly, and unfortunately lost 4 in LA. Finally broke through in 1967, beating the Celtics on his way to the championship. His best season, obviously. But to be called the most dominant player of his era, Shaq suffered from some of the same mental lapses of Wilt's mental lapses, in that Shaq was almost a little worse. Shaq admittedly said that if you didn't win one, I didn't respect you, and that in itself is a loser mentality. If I could sit down with Shaq and really go heart to heart with him, I can honestly feel very comfortable in telling him, you lost a couple championships with that kind of mindset. But then you can say, well, who's Kurt Rambis? Who's Del Harris? Who's these guys? It doesn't matter. You're Shaquille O'Neal. Make it work.
It's just it's so weird.
You're Go ahead, Sean.
Sean.
You're right. You're right, Joe. It's so weird though. Like where guys find themselves. It seemed like every time Wilt needed to beat the Celtics, Joe, it was a game 7, and he was staring across and saw Bill Russell. He's 4 and 5 all time in game 7s.
So there's a season where Wilt led the league in assists.
Mm-hmm.
Because what was the word? You can't pass or something, right? And that's the problem with That was the problem. And I'm trying to use Shaq as an example. I'm not trying to throw Shaq under the bus on a random discussion, but it helps explain a little bit better in comparison so people understand the difference. Because a lot of us weren't around then, or we were too young to remember. So that kind of mentality is a loser's mentality. You're not gonna win. And now Shaq and Wilt won, but for as dominant as they were, I don't see how Wilt shouldn't have at least flipped his record a little bit. Heck, I even think maybe even 5-1 or 6-0. I mean, you're that dominant. You got to be at least 5-1. I'll give you one, but you got to be 5-1 at least in that setup. Because I know you can't control the team. I know you can't control who's the coach and all that. But I think a lot of those losses were mental. Wasn't physical. Shaq was too dominant not to have won in '95. And I know that 04 was a weird year for a lot of the things that were going on. But Shaq should have gone to the finals more than he did, believe it or not. That's just my opinion on that. So looking at it as a whole, as much as I can with what I've watched, Wilt was able to get his Finals MVP in that season as well, solidifying his Laker career, winning in '72. Because in the end, do you consider Wilt Laker 1, or do you consider him a Sixer 1? He's got an interesting career there.
I consider him the NBA's first Merc.
It's kind of like LeBron to some degree, right? So let's say, I mean, let's be honest here, guys. I'm watching this game early this morning because I was gone all night last night. I'm watching LeBron play, and I'm going, okay, is this guy gonna play another 2 or 3 years? I know we keep going back and forth with this, not believing it, but maybe I'm trying to talk myself into believing he's not gonna do this for the next 2-3 years. Maybe because is it fathomable, right? But if this guy plays for the Lakers for another 3-4 years, is he going to be considered a Laker or a Cav? Don't tell me about the Akron thing, please. Spare me the Akron thing. I'm still trying to figure out the difference.
But Joe,
why is Akron like that's like me saying, hey, I was born in Sacramento, but I represent San Francisco. It doesn't make any sense. Is he a Laker one, or is he a Cav one? Same. I know I turned the thing out around, but what's Wilt?
Yeah.
Is Wilt a Laker 1, or is he a Sixer 1?
Good point.
But the Basketball Hall of Fame isn't like the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not like you go in with like a jersey. It's not like that.
I'm not asking about that.
I hear what you're saying.
What is he remembered
I really
for?
don't. He's remembered as being Wilt Chamberlain. I don't think you can remember him as a greater Sixer or a greater Laker.
That's a good point. I mean, the legend of Wilt grew beyond just the teams he played for. I mean, no, he didn't have the most sparkling acting career, but he just, the legend of everything both on and off the court when it comes to Wilt Chamberlain. It's
And,
like a legend that speaks more to itself.
Me and Joe both love the man who shot Liberty Valance, and I'm trying to walk him into that quote there. Just walking him in there. When the legend becomes fact.
Okay.
Legend. So if that's the case, Sean, based off what you just said, then his legend is more about sacking in the sack than dropping balls in the basket.
Well, he did both fairly well.
You could use both analogies.
That was a pretty good analogy there, Joe. Yeah, and he didn't think about that beforehand, ladies and gentlemen.
I believe that more people know him for that than they actually know him for basketball.
Joe,
Conan the Destroyer.
But I wish his career wasn't much more extended beyond that, as far as Hollywood is concerned.
Yeah, but to me, there's almost as if there's some karmic divinity attached to the 72 squad from the basketball gods' point of view, in the sense that West had lost 4 finals in game 7s. 4. Like a lot of guys could say 1. Few guys could say 2, Gerald. There's only one guy who's lost 4 game 7s in a final. That cuts deep. That cuts deep. And that's why when Joe was talking there, there's that epic photo of him getting the handshakes after finally beating the Knicks, Gerald, and he doesn't have a smile on his face. He's not smiling at all. It's just stoic Zeke. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, so that makes sense, right? Because Jerry West thought about the losses more. The great ones don't think about the wins. You're supposed to win. That's how their mind works.
That's what he said. That's what he said in winning
And it
time.
all started with
if I had 10 more points, I'd have 4 more rings on my fingers in the NBA Finals.
Frank Salvi missing that shot changed history in so many ways. If he makes that shot, that wide open shot, the Lakers beat the Celtics in '62 and go on. I was talking about this with a friend of mine. I go, imagine if the Dodgers had won in 2017 the way they were supposed to. They were dominant the entire season and had that series basically in their hands after winning game 1. They got, the series tied at 2, but then what ended up happening was they ended up losing one of the greatest baseball games we ever watched, game 4. And we saw what, we ended up finding out what happened with that. If the Dodgers win that series, maybe things change mentally for them the rest of the way. Maybe it doesn't, but a lot of times the first ones, Buffalo Bills can be put in that category as well in 1990. I have a prediction on that. I thought if the Bills win in 1990, if Norwood hits that field goal, they probably don't have as much enthusiasm to get back because of the losses. I think the Bills of the 90s destroyed the myth that no one remembered who was second. You know how the old story, well, no one remembers who came in second. The Bills trumped that. The Bills were the first team to put an end to that. People remember the Bills losing those years more than they remember the Giants, especially the Redskins, and to some degree the Cowboys the following couple of years. Although not much because the Cowboys are the Cowboys, but I guarantee you people remember the Bills losing more than the Redskins winning on 91. You'd get more guesses that the Bills lost than
well, and not only that though. I mean, this championship team, Gerald, it changes the starting 5 on the fly because Baylor has the humility enough to admit that the team will play better with McMullen at small forward than him. Not to mention the fact, Gerald, that Bill Sharman doesn't have much of a bench to speak of. Yeah, Pat Riley is on that team, but Pat Riley isn't much of a offensive shot in the arm, Gerald, and neither is Flynn Robinson. So
Okay.
Sharman has an okay bench. It's nothing great, right?
Well, you
also
got to
have
remember, though, it is historic in one way. It was the last 2 color announcers before Stu Lance. So there you go. It's Lakers lore.
There you
Because they
go.
had
Yeah.
Keith Erickson and Pat Riley,
Pat
or
Riley, yes.
Pat Riley, then
and
Keith Erickson. So
Yes.
and then Stu Lance providing the color commentary. There you go. So
Well, so to give you guys a little bit more rub on the current and past players, so the starting lineup was Chamberlain, McMillan, Goodrich, West, and Hairston. I'm going to give you the list of the games played. Wilt Chamberlain played 82 games. Jim McMullen played 80. Gail Goodrich played 82. Jerry West played 77. Happy played 80.
Yeah, and West missed 3 early games during the year. So, I mean, that's basically a starting, like Joe was
Not done
saying.
yet. Yeah. Not tell you the minutes, too. Wilt Chamberlain played 47 minutes. I'm sorry, hold on. That was the playoffs. My mistake. Played 42 minutes. West 38. Jim at 38. Goodrich 37. Hairston 34. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Hairston and Goodrich are the only ones under 30 at that point.
I can't believe I'm actually throwing out the statistics, but I think it's important for comparison at that point.
Well, I mean, Jerry West did lead the league in assists that year, Gerald, and in 1970 he led the league in scoring. The year before, he lost Game 7 in the NBA Finals, winning MVP, the only winning MVP in an NBA Finals as on the losing team. So, Gerald, this is a 4-year. To me, Gerald,
By the way,
this is Jerry West's 4 years best period ever, and that's saying a lot. But 30, 31,
LeBron should have won
32.
Finals MVP in 2015.
I agree. There should be 2. But this West also understands this year, Gerald, that if they're going to win, it's going to be because um he needs to take the bulk of the usage because he knows how to get Goodrich into his spots. They've talked about this beforehand, and they've asked Gail Goodrich about this. He said, I always knew that when Jerry had the ball in the clutch, that he would find everybody in their spots. That's why he had the ball in the clutch. So it's often discussed, was the combo guard? Was he a true shooting guard? He was whatever he needed to be, Gerald. And those, like, I'm gonna keep arguing it. Those 3 years, he was legitimately the point guard. Him and Goodrich, yes, 1-2 switchable, but for the most part, he was the point guard. Goodrich was the combo guard. It just worked. I mean, Jared, look at the stats. West averaged 25.8 points. I think Goodrich averaged 25.9. It was ridiculous how consistent they were and how easily it came. Because again, this is Sharman's first year coaching. He's never coached either of these 2 guys before, and he's coaching them together. And they're so without hands down, I don't care what Joe or yourself or anybody else has to say. This is the best backcourt combo in NBA history in one season. Goodrich and West. I'd
So
put
I
them up.
ask you
I'd
though,
put them up against the Splash Brothers. I'd put them up against Zeke and Dumars and Microwave Vinny Johnson. I'll put them up against any of those guys.
once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Lakers Fast Break University. Lakers History 101 coming right at you here. Thank you, class, for attending. Truly appreciate it. But in the last 22 minutes of our class before the bell rings, wanted to go ahead and just talk about a little bit about the legacy of the 33-game winning streak, and also as well, will it ever be knocked off? Will an American pro sports team find their way through 34 times to go ahead and beat the record? Guys, before I get into that, there is a tie-in when the legacy of this championship run, 33-game winning streak, and ultimately a championship then in 1972, Joe, tying into the three-peat of the Lakers. How do they tie in together? A little trivia there for you. Class, do you have any idea how the 1971-72 33-game winning streak and the Lakers trio of championship dominance in the early 2000s, how do they tie in together?
Because Jim Clemens played on the Lakers and he was an assistant coach for Phil Jackson.
You got it right on the spot. Absolutely. Well done, Magic Man. See, that's why he's a member of the esteemed faculty here at Lakers Fast Break University. My goodness. Excellent, excellent, excellent work therein. Joe, though, the legacy of where this stands, again, you said it wasn't the greatest winning streak of all time in American pro sports history, but I feel it still leaves a legacy. I still feel that number 33, it sticks out there. When any team starts to go on a run, it sticks out there as far as that number. It seems kind of gaudy. It gets on the horizon. And once teams start to go ahead and see it on the horizon, they kind of get sweaty, kind of get a little nervous, and they make mistakes and then ultimately end up falling short. I see it as something that's actually bigger and bigger as the closer you get to it from another team.
We're talking American sports, team sports.
It is the greatest, according to my numbers. I will say that, but you said it wasn't. You said it's. I mean, you said it wasn't in your mind the greatest.
Yeah,
Sports.
the greatest streak, in my opinion, is the Joe DiMaggio 56 game hitting streak. I believe that one will never be touched in the history of anything.
But that's an individual
It's a
achievement.
team sport, though. Streak, team sport. I don't know. I guess, I think the closest was Pete Rose with 44, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And Ichiro should have been a guy that might have been able to get close, but he never did, which just adds more to the fact that that record is just mind-boggling to me. Other than that, maybe I forgot his name, but the pitcher who pitched back-to-back no-hitters. I don't think you'll ever see anybody break that record. I don't see anybody hit.
So do you see? So do you see someone breaking this record?
No, I don't. Probably not. Not with the pansies that are playing now. No.
In any team sport,
Probably not.
not even baseball, where
Football,
you do have.
I mean, the Patriots got close. I think they won 24 in a row before Steelers beat them. This was in 2004. But 33 is too much. 33 is almost, I mean, geez, it's almost half an NBA season. I just don't see how that's, I don't see a team sustaining. I don't see anyone wanting to do that. The Heat, when they got to 27, they wanted to do what they were doing. They were trying to beat the record, and they had a prime ×2 LeBron at the time. But I don't.
The Golden State was more about beating the Chicago record.
Yes, and I've actually forgotten about the start. By the way, 24-0 is pretty remarkable. I'd say that to start the season, yeah, I'd say that's pretty I'd say that's probably top 5 for sure, possibly top 3. It did end up being a champion. Well, that was 2000. That was 2016, right? When they started the 20. Yeah, it would have probably meant more had they won it all. 2016, much like the 2007 Patriots, we were cheated out of greatness those 2 seasons. If you're looking at it from an objective standpoint, cheated as in not cheated, but we could have seen an accomplishment that likely would never happen again.
And there's, Gerald, there's a lot of similar ingredients in these winning streak pies. One of them is you have to have a prolific offense. One of them is you have to have a resilient defense. One of them is you have to have a lot of luck when it comes to injuries. And that was one thing that Sharman points to a lot when it comes to the 33-game win streak, is that I didn't have to deal with a lot of injuries. Jerry West was out a couple games for me during the year at the beginning, and then I had basically everybody, including my bench, for about 77, 78 games.
It's just, I don't know. It's always there on the horizon. Once a team starts going on a roll, it is on the horizon. Intel Wild says Kareem ended the streak. As he mentioned before, Intel Wild did, and Kareem's jersey number was for his career was 33, and he did end the streak at 33. The irony and all that, absolutely great to point that out, Intel Wild, and truly thank you once again as a honored student, a graduate student, for going ahead and providing us with a super chat. But Joe, it just seems to me that it would be, like you said, so hard and so much harder in today's era in any of this pro sports. I still think that baseball personally would be the one sport that I think that if any that gets on a roll could actually come close to beating it, just because you have so many opportunities in a 162 game season to go ahead and do that. But you think, again, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you on it, because again, the different way of thinking in sports today about how we, play games, period, I think that it's going to be it might not be a for sure thing, but it's like you said with the DiMaggio hit streak. It's pretty much a good going to be lasting there for a long time.
Yeah, the in baseball, the longest winning streak was the 1916 New York Giants. They won 26 straight games, and I think Oakland came close. I think it was what 24, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Uh, Baseball, it's even more difficult, especially now with the way pitchers are used. I don't know if that's I don't know if 33 would be a lot easier in a 162 game season, but I don't know necessarily if I don't know necessarily if baseball players really care about those like that. It was 20 by the way. This was in 2002. They won.
It, there's a lot of dominance in this streak as well, Gerald. It's 33 games, but they won 8 games by 20 or more points. They won 17 by 15 or more.
Yeah.
As you said, when you get on a roll, it just seems that it's an avalanche that can't be stopped. Only its own momentum can really stop it. And I mean, yeah, it took Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to stop the streak. And ironically, Gerald, the Bucks stopped the Warriors streak at 24 games. So it seems like the Bucks are either starting a streak themselves or ending one in NBA history.
It's definitely going to be a part of history for a long time to come. I saw in the chat one of our students was commenting that of course it will be broken, Joe. There's no defense in the NBA. Alan wanted to go ahead and interject in there, and obviously that's his opinion. I don't know. It works both ways. If you say it's going to last for a while as far as a team on a roll because there's no defense in the NBA, that means they're probably not going to play defense on one occasion too and slip up and let another team get hot for a victory.
Well, we saw the Heat get close in 2013. I think if there was ever going to be a team to do something like that, you would have needed somebody like Shaq and Kobe on the same team.
And Joe, you know what's ironic about that team? They had a 27 game win streak, right? They finished 66 and 16. If they had completed the streak and got to 34, they would have finished 73 and 9 with a 34 game win streak and an NBA title.
Okay.
And that would have been a different conversation when we're talking about the 95-96 Bulls.
And when you're great as a LeBron, Jordan, Shaq, Kobe, whatever, you have room to say we can dominate more. We can dominate more. Shaq and Kobe, to some degree, were able to do that because no one three-peats like Shaq and Kobe did. Jordan three-peated because he's Jordan, right? Just what it is. Magic couldn't, Kareem couldn't, Bird couldn't. Bird didn't even win back-to-back titles.
It's just so damn hard.
Tim Duncan didn't win back-to-back titles.
It's the hardest thing to do in a team sport is win back to back to back.
You look at how great the Warriors were in 17 and 18. They were this close to losing in 2018 until Chris Paul got hurt. Now you can use that excuse to some degree in a lot of things, but those were poignant in my book. It's
a slivers, Joe. Space between a blink and a tear.
Yeah. So Laker fans especially, we get greedy. I'm greedy. I think about the losses way more than I think about the wins. I even though the games I wasn't even around in, I look at 1959, when they were in Minneapolis getting swept by the Celtics, 62, 63, 64. It's not.
But I just think it's really cool that unfortunately God rest his soul, Gerald, Bill Sharman, and Jim McMullen, they're no longer with us, but rest in peace. That all these guys can still get together, Gerald, at like a banquet hall or somebody's movie theater, and just watch that finals and enjoy it because you're one of only a handful of group of men, the only group in NBA history to have a winning streak like that, and you could take it with you to the grave.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing. It's really cool, and I'm just fortunate enough that we could talk about it because in the annals of like team sports, yeah, well, they should have won 70 and this and that. They still topped it off with the championship. It's the greatest crown jewel on the Lakers. 87 did it with style. The 72 one is the crown jewel, Gerald. 69 wins, a dominant finals performance. And I mean, you could have given that finals MVP to any one of the three, Gerald. It could have gone to Gale, it could have gone to Jury as well. Just so happened to be Wilt's.
So let me ask you this, guys, before we head on out. Is that the greatest starting five with or without Elgin Baylor in the mix? Let me ask you this. Do you feel that, because Magic Man said he will line that backcourt up against anybody in West and Goodrich. And then you had Happy Harrison, Jim McMillan, and Will Chamberlain along the front line. And again, when you start off the season, you started off with Elgin Baylor as the starting small forward. So I ask, is this the greatest starting five ever assembled in Lakers history? No. Okay, Joe, who would you put as better? Because you're on. You go ahead.
I know at least two, one in the
Okay.
80s, one in the 2000s. I would take
So you
Magic.
think the Magic, one of the Magic
I would take
ones?
Magic, Kareem, Worthy, Scott, and
Kurt Rambis.
Karambis. And then the 01 team of the Lakers, Ori. Well, technically that was Horace Grant. Horace Grant, Shaq, Kobe, Fish, and Fox.
So I mean, just because the fact that Fish and Grant and Fox may not have been, they fit that team so well, but when you look at their careers, you don't
You're
see
talking
it.
starting five, yeah. I'll take the
You'll
87.
take them. Okay.
Take the 87 starting five and the 2001 five over the 72 five.
Until I don't think he's being a hater. He has a preference. Why? I just think that's a
Yeah,
personal
I
I
mean,
want you to. I want
yeah.
you to. I want Until I want you to think about this for a second.
preference. Kurt, class clown.
Results are the ultimate decision maker. If the Lakers win in 1970 and 73, they go 3-0 against the Knicks from 70 through 73. Then you have an argument. Or you could even say that's the best starting five. 3 out of 4 championships. Yeah, I'll start talking about that. But then when you talk about a team that had a three-peat, a team that had won 3 out of 4 championships, one being back-to-back for the first time in 19 years in a league that was very difficult to repeat. And on top of that, you're beating a legendary team in the Celtics twice, and you beat the Pistons when they were at their best. I mean, at their best. Took every ounce of energy for the Lakers to beat the Pistons in '88.
I
So,
would
yeah.
say, I'm almost with Joe. I would go with
There's no credibility in what I'm saying though, because I wasn't there for the '72 team. So
I
it's
was only in
the same
diapers,
way.
so don't look at me as well.
Yeah,
I
so
was only
I can't really. When somebody says Jim Brown is the greatest running back that ever lived, and he's 42, I'm like, how the freak do you know? Don't.
It's just an opinion.
It's an opinion at that point. So this doesn't mean anything. I'm going by the results. That's it, because that's all I can go by. If the Lakers are 3-0 against the Knicks between 70 and 73, you probably win that argument.
I would
there.
I would replace AC Green with the hippie, Joe, because I think I would kick your ass. Other than that, that's a pretty good starting five.
Was it? Wait, AC was a starter in '87, though, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so he was. Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking 1985. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah,
19.
but still, the hippie was pretty good. I thought we played better with AC.
No, no, they did. No, AC Green, 100%. No, 100%. 80, 87, 88, 100%. You're right on that.
Although that is for Adrian Brody calling Rambus a hippie in that speech is
Wasn't that
just
Jerry West who called him that?
no. It was no.
You sure?
I'm positive.
I
So,
don't think you are.
so
But I
Magic,
remember him saying it,
so Magic.
unless he said it
No,
first.
he said Rambus, you're starting, and then he said not the hippie. Yeah,
That's what Jerry West said.
yeah,
You're talking Jerry West, right?
yeah.
Search,
Yeah.
if you stop by playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break tomorrow, Magic will apologize for not acknowledging you on the previous playback. He was running it. He was doing a fantastic job, and I believe me, we were just
Oh, that
get
was
back
my
on there
bad.
playback.
That
Yeah,
was my bad.
he apologized. Yeah, he was acknowledging everybody he could on playback. He does a sensational job, as I do when I try to run this here, so we know how much
No, well,
we try to
we know
acknowledge
when
everybody.
you say you're not available, Gerald, you're not available.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
know you're not available.
no. Well, I mean, just as far as he had said, he was like he felt slighted, but I think he was just
Oh, I'm not referring to search either.
no. As far as the
Yeah.
acknowledging everyone that was there in the
Ah,
chat,
yes. Okay,
yes,
I
yeah.
understand.
But I
Yeah,
think
all
he was
good.
just pulling your chain. I think he was just teasing because
Mhm.
he just wanted to go ahead and be that way. But before we head on out, your final thoughts, Magic Man. Do you think it? Yeah, you said you can't
Well,
go
I'm a
all the way and
Canadian.
agree.
Yanking my chain is part of your devious nature as Yankees.
Yes, but Search still loves you anyways, and we appreciate Search as moderating here as well. But before we head on out, my friend, and class is dismissed. Let us know your thoughts. You said you were leaning go the way of Joe, but not 100%. So tell me, elaborate. Before we head on out.
Well, see that 01 starting five there. Got me thinking like
He has a good point.
what's the thinker? What's the thinker? It's not
It's not Plato.
yeah, no, it's not Plato. Who is it? Who is
I
it?
know what
Come
you're
on.
talking about.
You're a university graduate. We're talking to you. Who is it?
I will.
He's just staring off into space. He doesn't know what we're talking about.
Augusta wrote.
Oh, you're talking to me? Was it a Rodin? Rodin?
Rodin made it. Rodin made the sculpture, but I don't know who he was representing. It does not say as far as who the actual figure is, but we'll have to look more into that. But my friend, I agree. A lot to think about, but the legacy of
I still go with 87 though, Gerald. I'll still
okay.
go 87, 01, and then I'd put the 72 at number 3.
I still think the 72 is up there as well. But again, that's a great discussion to have because those have all been great winning teams. Professor Magic Man, Sean Grice, sensational job bringing back all this. You brought up the idea. You get all the kudos for today from it. Professor Joe Soro, great insight and depth into what you thought, again, as far as your insight and your opinions in regards to the 33 game winning streak. Both you guys just cannot thank you enough for stopping by. And big shout out to the class. Big shout out to the class for stopping by as well. Truly appreciate the time that you take in stopping by and listening to us here. That was by request to do a Lakers History 101, and we're bringing it to you right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Again, please like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, please go ahead, like and follow. If you're on YouTube, hit the little Joe right there, right hand corner of the screen. Get the latest notifications on when we go live with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. But for tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and have a great full day planned for you. Magic Man and I and Joe Soro, we've got lots of ton of stuff talking about, ton of stuff to talk about, ton of stuff to do, ton of stuff to go ahead and go over with you tomorrow because it's the pregame for the Lakers and the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz come into the crypt to go ahead for a Tuesday night matchup. So we're going to go ahead and give you a great pregame, plus also as well during the game, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. We will try, all of us, to acknowledge as many people who are on playback as possible. Forgive us for not getting everybody. So we're going to try and do the best we can for that. Magic's doing a great job. Laker Nick is there. Joe Soro stops by. So we do a great job of trying to cover the game for you. And then afterwards, the best post game in town right here at the Lakers Fast Break. So for Professor Joe Soro and Professor Magic Man, Sean Grice, thanks so much for watching and listening. It's been great to have you here in the halls of Lakers Fast Break University and Lakers History 101. And class is now dismissed.